right. Hi. I am, just like many of you, a product designer. I have worked with some big, well-known companies like Volvo and Spotify, and currently I work with a really small company. Some of you may have heard my question just before about design systems. The company is called My Camper, and it's a bit like Airbnb, but motorhomes and camper vans and stuff like that. I'm just telling you that to let you know that I'm like a credible, non-whimsical product designer like all of you, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today, because with around 40% of my time, I work as a futurist. As I like to call myself. You might wonder what that means. And it means that me and the teams that I work with use methods such as speculative design, design fiction, foresight, scenario planning, and things like that to better imagine and plan for what the future might be like, for possible futures. I'm supposed to pick this up as well. And if you want to know more about any of these models or methods, we can set something up. You can talk to me later. But today, I'm here to talk about my favorite topic, Utopia, and how we can get there. Around 2 years ago, I had an epiphany. I realized that history is everything that has ever happened. And that understanding our past is how we can understand the future. It's in fact the only clue we have to the future. And sorry, but everything that has ever happened. That means yesterday, that includes the sentence I just said. It means that what I'm just saying right now will be history very, very soon. And it includes the history of psychology, the history of technology, the history of ideas, culture, politics, like anything, everything is history. And this makes me so excited. By studying history, we can reshape how we see humanity. Not because we change what happened, but because we can see it differently. Like, we can share what really happened and choose which stories from the past that matters. There we go. What we think of when we think of history is usually just a tiny slice of what actually happened. And it's usually shaped by the ones who get to tell history. You may have heard this before. And all kinds of strategies came into play here. It could be people wanting to hide ugly secrets. It could be companies wanting to make a profit. Voices were silenced or forgotten. And there's so much of it. There's so much of history, naturally, that most of it was never told. And a mistake in how history is told, if you ask me, is that just like with our news, it is in fact sensational. Like, what we hear when we hear about our history is what stands out somehow. And this also means that the stories of peace and abundance and joy and just like quiet, happy lives are never told, or rarely told, I should say. So I started studying history on top of, my background as a designer, interaction designer. And What makes me different than other historians? Well, first of all, I am also a designer, a business developer, a product innovator, and I am a realistic optimist. History made me see that making the world better is what humans do. It's what we always have done. I mean, I wasn't used to looking back. Like, I didn't care much. I wanted to innovate and be creative, come up with new things. Like, what's the use of looking back? Like, history in school was just learning about kings and what they did. I felt like history was, why would I be interested in something where everything is already told and everything is really there? But then I realized the tremendous impact history has on our future. And more than that, the history we tell. Because so much of the history we tell, so much of the history that is, there's so much to explore still in history. There's research to be done. There are stories hidden that aren't told yet. It happened, but the stories aren't told. So learning more about history has a huge impact on the future. And in this moment, there are many possible futures. One of them is that I fumble my way through this talk, and you pick up your phones, and the only moment of real attention is when I choke on my water and awkwardly try to recover. We all become a bit uncomfortable. Or, in another, I blow your mind. The room becomes electric. You walk out of here feeling inspired and fueled. You feel like superheroes about to change the world. And maybe I end it all with a triumphant crowd surf. I don't know exactly how to jump that far, but my point is, which scenario do you think I should imagine in order for the outcome to be as good as possible? Should I worry about potential failures, or should I imagine that success is inevitable? Success, of course, yes. What we believe in shapes what happens, and I'm sure that's not news to you. This is what athletes use. They visualize success. Placebos alter biochemistry. Research shows that people who believe they are lucky seem to stumble upon more luck. Unfair, you might think, but it's not about luck. It's about their mindset that make them spot and capture ideas that people who expect less are blind to. And this is why manifestation works. This is why amulets, pep talks, praying, wearing your lucky pants work, if you believe in them. Because the magic isn't in the object or the item, it's in our brains. This is a bit, oh no, did I jump to, no? I didn't, sorry, this is a bit shaky. So, about imagination. Studies show that when we imagine the future, our brains light up the same regions as those that are used when we remember the past. What's striking is that this network in the brain doesn't distinguish much between a real memory and a vivid fantasy. This is like the neurological equivalent of a time machine with no regards for the direction of travel. Mentally simulating the future is like, it helps with actual performance, decision-making, and emotional regulation. It's just like if you rehearse a difficult conversation or you imagine a presentation going really well. When we imagine a future vividly, we create a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. And that memory from the future guides behavior as if we were relating to something in our past, something inevitable. I mean, this is crazy. This is so powerful. It means that by using our imagination, we can pre-experience futures. And when groups of people share the same beliefs, this power multiplies. I'm trying to understand if this is just a bit slow or if I'm not clicking. Okay. Company cultures, political movements, investments in seemingly mind-boggling ideas like space travel. When entire societies believe and invest in ideas or push for change, they're fueled by shared imagination. And looking back at our history, this is how tyrants were overthrown. This is how slavery goes from something normal to something alien and bizarre, something we cannot imagine anymore. Well, there were people saying that it was impossible to change this. Some people just refused to believe in them and believed that it was possible. And eventually it happened, and it's now our normal. In the mid-20th century, visions of the future were bright and boundless. We were imagining green, high-tech cities. We were imagining clean energy, global peace, no more poverty. We saw ourselves living better, longer, freer lives. I remember a TV show from like around maybe early 2000s sometimes, when there was an expert panel. So the TV show was showing a clip from the early 80s. And in that clip, an expert panel was talking about how in 20 years from now, as in from then, 84, we would only need to work around 8 hours per week because of if automation keeps like moving in the pace that it was moving in 84. And I mean, it's, I don't know, it's just crazy how much like that has sped up since. And we're still working 40 hours per week. So that didn't really happen. But that's what we were imagining back then. And I grew up in like the 90s and 2000s in Sweden, and at the time, progress just felt inevitable. Public school was great. We learned to compost and recycle in pedagogical and wonderfully hopeful TV shows. And companies competed to be the loudest in the Pride Parade and to have the most ambitious sustainability goals. And in the meantime, all around me, technological development was just exploding and the world came closer with the internet. And yeah, we forgot at the time that Sweden used to be really poor. Just like 3 generations ago, people were escaping to like America because Scandinavia was so poor. But when I grew up, we just had this 100 years or something of getting better and better, and we believed that was just going to keep on happening. My parents and my grandparents had seen their world and the quality of their lives improving steadily. And I genuinely believe that pollution and injustice and all these things were just like a legacy of the past, and they were still happening because we just didn't have quite enough time to like shake them off entirely yet. And I believed that humanity shared a clear agenda. A fair, bright future for all on a healthy planet. And everyone in their right minds was in on the scope. Humankind had leveled up. And it wasn't perfect, but we were imagining perfect. We believed in it. And that's the worldview that shaped me. Maybe some of you recognize this. Sadly, this collective imagination has taken us in a more negative direction lately. And why did so many of us stop believing? We live in a time where the societal narrative is flooded with negativity. Gone are the vision-driven political messages of the 1900s. The political landscape is a blame game, talking about how to desperately avoid crisis and protect what we can. And the business model of modern media is to bring us in with clickbait articles, usually framing the worst, most sensational events. And this is exploiting fears and profiting on polarization. It's really hard to navigate. Decision-making becomes a minefield. And instead of working towards something better, we freeze and hope quietly while trying to protect what we can. This becomes a downward spiral, encouraging us not to trust each other and not to trust collective progress. On top of that, the dominant cultural narrative is dystopian. It's not just our news, but our fiction as well. And I'm not telling you to not consume dystopian entertainment. Like, I actually love it too. But our brains are terribly bad at differentiating between facts and fiction, or making sense of that what we receive in our news channels is heavily biased. Our heads are just storing impressions. And that's why the narratives we consume, whether fictional, biased, false, or true, shape how we see the world. And that's how prejudice and stereotypes take root, even when we consciously reject them. And we're bombarded with all these visions of disaster and reasons to fear each other. And this is programming our brains. But worse, it's also programming our futures. And it has eroded our crucial ability to collectively envision better futures. Okay, I know, that was terribly dark and stressful for a presentation about Utopia. But what I'm trying to say is that even though the world is still getting better, most people don't think it is. And knowing the power of imagination, I think you can see how we created our own self-fulfilling prophecy. But this is just a speed bump on the road to Utopia. And I'm here to tell you that Utopia was something humankind always reached, and that history is our proof. It just took longer than expected. And once we got there, it no longer appeared utopian to us. And do you see where that places us? We are living in somebody else's dream. And this tiny little dip, and I know that these are like horrible wars and stuff, but they are just tiny dips on this long, long path to Utopia. And it's fixable. We just need to tell a different story and zoom out. We've seen it over and over. Ideas, once deemed utopian, are now fundamental parts of society. We just experienced one idea that was deemed a utopian dream in the past. The weekend! Or maybe the real winner looks more like this guy. Humans excel at turning shared beliefs into reality. We see it in stock markets, we see it in marriage, we see it in property ownership, like all of these abstract ideas that we just materialized because we collectively decided to believe that they are real. And history is full of examples. The idea of a global network of computers, have a conversation with someone who isn't in your direct proximity. Electricity, accessing light or heat as easy as we can today. Traveling vast distances in just a couple of hours. Not just on the ground, but in the sky. The medical equipment we have today, the diseases and the accidents that we don't die from anymore. All of these ideas were once called madness, witchcraft, fantasies. Realistic wasn't one of them. And maybe my favorite, clean water in your kitchen and bathroom. The sewage system deserves way more credit than we give it. Illness due to dirty water or diseases spread in our waterways have always disappeared entirely. See how easy we forget just how utopian our current reality already is. Okay, so history is fun, but why is this relevant at a conference in design? That's what I'm going to tell you with my last minutes. Because in this room, we have the expertise to speed up this trajectory towards utopia. Design is one of the rare professions where imagination is both method and outcome. Our jobs is to make people believe in ideas that don't yet exist. A new app feature, a new product, a new behavior, the whole concept of prototypes and pitch decks is to spark imagination and create belief. When we do our jobs well, people are able to imagine the future we are portraying. I'm sure you can all look back at a meeting or a workshop with this outcome. Your team leaves the room convinced that what you were just talking about will become reality. What we're building is urgent optimism, a mindset that combines desire to act with the belief that success is achievable. And we often talk as if we're responding to existing needs in our work. I think we're letting ourselves off the hook way too easily there. Our impact, and with that, our responsibility is much larger. We are not merely reacting, we are shaping desires, behaviors, and beliefs. We work in proactive disciplines. We shape what feels realistic. By giving people not just concepts but experiences of possible futures, they will feel like they are realistic and actively or subconsciously work towards making them real. So if we want to build better futures, we must design to shape those new beliefs and present these desirable ideas as if they are within reach. Then we create a momentum that makes them reachable. A few methods specializes in this specifically, and we're going to quickly look at two of them. They ask, what world do we want to live in, and how would it feel like to be there? Not just how do we fix what's broken. Speculative design does what it sounds like. It questions the present by speculating on possible futures. And design fiction is like archaeology of the future. It's as if you found an item from the future and use that item as a puzzle piece to figure out what was going on, or what is going on in this case. Could be in the shape of an app prototype, a magazine, a coffee machine, anything. I'm almost out of time, but I'm just showing you a few examples of contemporary speculative design objects. But for the sake of this presentation, what are the artifacts from the past that helped shaping the future, as in helped shaping what happened next? I'm skipping some slides, sorry. Myths from medieval Europe paint vivid pictures of ease and abundance, roasted birds flying through the air, cooked fish leaping from rivers straight onto our plates. And these weren't just fantasies. They functioned like early speculative design. They shaped desires and made the unimaginable tangible. And we didn't get roasted birds flying through the air, but we did get microwave ovens, refrigerators, and on-demand food delivery. This idea of having fresh, ready-to-eat food in our homes was once utopian. And in 1516, Thomas More's Utopia imagined a society where people worked just 6 hours a day and had plenty of time for leisure. And at the time, the average laborer in Europe worked 10 to 12 hours per day, 6 days per week. Their daily life would seem dystopian to us, and ours would have seemed utopian to them. I need to skip a slide again because I'm out of time. But what I want to say is that a better world requires systemic change. And for some reason, we tend to think that we have no power there. Laws are what they are, policies are written in stone, the financial system is too complicated to change, but we couldn't be more wrong. There are things in the universe that we cannot change, like the laws of physics. But the laws of humans, who do you think invented them? Us. And then we changed them over and over again. And they are meant to be questioned, improved, and modernized. What stands in the way of making the world better faster is our inability to imagine it. And I'm not telling you that you personally need to change laws or policies, but you need to help paint a different picture. Because working towards utopia isn't naive. It's as realistic as making lunch plans. It's necessary, it's practical, and maybe the most strategical design challenge we have. It's about asking, what kind of world do we want to live in? And what would it feel like to be there? I think the most powerful idea about the future is that it doesn't exist yet. That means it's not set. It's plural. There are many possible futures. And I dare to believe that utopia is the most likely outcome. History is our proof. We always made the world better. How many of your ancestors had jobs as credible as yours, or an education as advanced as yours, homes as comfortable as yours, or gadgets as cool as yours? And this is my invitation to you to see yourself not only as designers of things or behaviors, but designers of futures. Because everything we create, everything we put into this world is a seed. And what we believe in becomes what we build. And now I'm out of time. Thank you so much.